Yesterday, President Trump signed an executive order targeting flag desecration, primarily or particularly flag burning. The order does not explicitly criminalize flag burning across the board, but instead directs federal enforcement and immigration consequences for those who desecrate the American flag under certain conditions. Under the order, the president declared that those who burn the flag, the U.S. flag, face mandatory 1-year sentence in jail. Foreign nationals who desecrate the flag would risk visa revocation and deportation. And the order directs the Department of Justice to prioritize cases where flag burning overlaps with crimes like violence and property damage. After signing the order, the president touched on that 1-year jail term.
What the penalty is going to be, if you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail, no early exits, no nothing. You get 1 year in jail. If you burn a flag, you get, and what it does is incite to riot. I hope they used that language, by the way. Did they?
Yeah, incitement.
Incite to riot. And you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail. You don't get 10 years, you don't get 1 month. You get 1 year in jail, and it goes on your record.
All right, here to help us understand it is friend of the show, Emory Political Science Professor Andra Gillespie. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's start off with this. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled in 1989 that burning the American flag as part of a protest was protected by the First Amendment. Why has the burning of the American flag garnered so much debate nowadays? Why is it such a flashpoint now?
Well, I mean, it was a flashpoint in 1989 when Texas versus Johnson was decided. For many patriotic Americans, seeing their flag burned and desecrated is a sign of disrespect. They don't view it as a sign of speech. The Supreme Court has said otherwise, and we're all bound to that, and that includes President Trump.
So what's the message that it sends, the White House is sending, and is willing to press against the decade of the First Amendment precedent?
Well, there are two different things that I would be looking for. First, at its most benign, this could very much be a symbolic measure. I also think that the Trump administration may be attempting to test the limits of how civil rights and civil liberties and our Bill of Rights protections actually apply to non-citizens. Now, the court has weighed in and said that non-citizens living in the U.S. enjoy the same protections that people who are citizens have. And so this may be something that the Trump administration is trying to push the bounds of. I think it's also trying to send a chilling effect, right, to try to quell protest as well. At worst, this is a representation of the Trump administration's lack of respect for checks and balances. So we know that President Trump holds a unitary theory of the executive branch, and he wants all members of the executive branch to report to him and to be loyal to him and for him to be able to dictate anything to them. But we're also looking at the relationship between the executive branch and the co-equal legislative and judicial branches. And so if the Supreme Court says that something like flag burning is protected speech, then the executive branch is bound to honor that. And so at worst, what civil libertarians and those who oppose President Trump are worried about is that this is a usurpation of power and that this seeks to expand executive authority above and beyond what the power of the judicial branch is. And that is something that is concerning for people.
Yeah. How do you see this playing out with his base, with the president's base, compared to independent or swinging voters?
So that actually does raise a third point, that this is just purely symbolic. And so we know that the Republican Party, especially under Donald Trump, has taken the opportunity, every opportunity, to try to present itself as being the super patriotic party, the party of real Americans. And so by issuing an executive order against flag burning, this is something that would play well to the base because it seems like he is defending Americana.
Mm-hmm. Do you see this maybe backfiring, this executive order backfiring, or by energizing opponents who see the government as overreaching here?
Yes, I mean, you could already see that in terms of some of the rhetoric that, people are already discussing with respect to that. But I think, what the real test is going to be if somebody is actually prosecuted under this, whether or not they sue on First Amendment grounds and they use Texas versus Johnson as their precedent, and then seeing how that would actually be handled if there was a confrontation between the Trump White House and the Supreme Court over this particular issue. Yeah,
this order singles out foreign nationals who burn the flag, possible deportation. How does this tie in with the immigration policy that we have in place now?
Well, I mean, President Trump has had a very aggressive immigration policy in terms of identifying and collecting and deporting people who he's accused of being involved in crimes. And so I think that this is, twofold. Again, the Trump administration is raising questions about how many civil liberties he has to honor for people who are not U.S. citizens. And I think this is another instance of one of those tests and norms pushing that the Trump administration is particularly inclined to do. But then also it is about trying to quell dissent and trying to quell protest. And so there may be people who might have burned a flag in protest who might be, more timid and might not actually show up to protest some of these seizures of individuals who have, been in this country illegally and are deemed to have criminal convictions.
Yeah, we have about 30 seconds left here. If or when this does get a chance to go to court, what kind of showdown over free speech protections do you see this playing out?
This is one of those instances where we have seen the Supreme Court sometimes take different approaches with respect to precedent. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know of a situation in which I could see this precedent necessarily being overturned, but not everybody on the Supreme Court actually really agrees with stare decisis in the way that I see it. So stare decisis is the principle of letting prior precedents kind of govern decision-making going forward. So there may be some people who might give him a sympathetic ear on some of these issues, but there's still going to be stalwarts who are going to look at the original case and say that this isn't a question that flag burning is protected speech.
Gotcha. All right, Professor, really appreciate you, Andra Gillespie, for joining us.
Thank you.
Have a great day.